I will talk about our festival initiative. Um, it's called Dare to Care. Um, mm, and Dare to Care is about how you can think about how can I act when I see something, see someone maybe about to get sexual harassed or assault. How can I improve my own skills to interact in that situations? And we try to, in different ways, work both with the audience and, of course, the organizations, the festivals in themselves. And we try to go from the perspective of active bystander, because we know that the most successful way to act that way, because you engage a lot more people when you do that, and you can also interact with more positive norm changing expressions like Dare to Care, for instance. And we need all those tools to make people more convenient in interaction. We need to do it to get more festivals and clubs to see this as something that could be a way to show that they are a value-based organization working with important values in the society. The 6 points is about how you can think before, how you can think how you should act when you see something. And the number 1 is to think about what's important for me. How can I act? What do I need to be an active bystander? And actually, we can see that people need different things. They need to reflect how can I act? And to make it brief and short, we see in studies that that young men, especially, they tend to describe themselves not as the picture of what you're supposed to be as a man, according to norms. The norms telling young men to be close to Superman, or maybe able to do what a police is supposed to do when they see something wrong. But when they reflect about that, they will say that I'm not that kind of person. I don't have that kind of skills. I don't know how to do it. I get scared. And it's not that easy for many young men to say that loud and think that thought about themselves to begin with. So we need to help them to use, how can you say, baby steps, or make it more easy, be more careful about the person being exposed for something that they don't want to, instead of telling them that they're supposed to be like Supermans. So Dare to Care, the name itself, is addressing all of the audience, but especially actually young men, to feel that they need to dare something. They need to change something by being brave, and that's one of the purpose with the name. So, and of course, we realize that this will not end sexual violence, but it's a way of engage people and engage festivals, and at the same time make them to consider how they act themselves, because we talk both about neutrality, how you can act in a sexual situation yourselves, but also how you can be an active bystander. And we have worked a lot before with festivals and the national police and local authorities to try to prevent assault by modifying the festivals, by increasing lighting, work with the festival schedules, to have diverse age group, close to the last show, to try to make the arena something different. But we can still see that we need to make something more. And Dare to Care is a way to make people more aware about positive norms, giving people within the organization and at the festival knowledge, and also encourage positive norms, promote positive ideas that all people carry within them. So regarding to gender-based violence, we need to give people practical skills that fit themselves as a person. And when we do that, we can say that, okay, this is one way that we do it. It's an easy way you can say, but at the festival, at a club, making people take a picture on this frame, Dare to Care, share it on the social media they use themselves. It's one way to make people more aware and more alert. And you can see that the festival in itself is a wonderful arena for us. We don't often meet young adults. We meet a lot of people in school, and then we can discuss it as a school topic. But if you see it more like SexEd among young adults, it's harder to reach them in this kind of way. And this is a place where you have very many young adults, and they're at a place that they like to be, listen to music, dance, to flirt, to experience new love. They're supposed to do that at that kind of arena. And yet at the same time, it happens things that we don't want to happen. The frame is a way to take a stand. It's a way to show what you think and start conversations with other people. And we can see that there is assaults at festivals. There is actually rapes at Swedish festivals, but it's not more than you find in the rest of the society. So we think about this as an arena where we meet a lot of young adults. And we try to work with this hashtag in social media, I Dare to Care. We try to use this kind of fake tattoos. You can see a man's got to do what a man's got to do to redefine masculinity. It's one of the fake tattoos. And I can tell that they are surprisingly overwhelmed by the different kinds of fake tattoos. You can see on my shirt, maybe you can see this silence is not golden. We have different ones that you can choose one that fits your taste. Dare to Care is, of course, one of those. You can also have this speak up every day to make the patriarchy go away. So we have rather hush, how can you say, way to pronounce it, and softer ways. So we try to make something for everybody at the festivals. And we can tell also from when we've met people and when we've done some kind of small studies, then actually the audience, especially then girls and young women, they told us that afterwards, when I see people with fake tattoos or maybe a cap with this kind of message, I feel a bit more safe. Of course, that's not the whole solution, but if you do this, you will improve people's ability to do something and feel also maybe stronger themselves doing it afterwards. We used several festivals last summer, and it's the biggest festivals in Sweden, you could say, and you can see that we also have the opportunity to use their own big screens by the scene and showing this film that I couldn't show now. Make our communication materials for the festivals and artists as a package. So when we work with them, we want them to share information in social media and their website before the festival and during the festival and afterwards. So we try to make this something that this is a way to talk about this topic to an audience. And we can say that if we use a festival, like for instance, a very big one, Lollapalooza in Stockholm, and they are the one saying Dare to Care, we would reach another part of the audience than if we, as RFSU, the sexual educational organization in Sweden, they have another relationship to this kind of festival than they have to us. So we need to see that they're supposed to do this. Both they have this responsibility to do this, but it's also an opportunity both for them and us to reach new people talking about this kind of issues. And we like, as I mentioned before, we try to reach, when we work with our volunteers, I will speak a bit about that later, we try to reach more men than female during these festivals. Because we think men, or know from studies in Sweden, that they want to discuss this and they don't do it with their own community. They don't do it after they finish school with nobody, you can say, in general. So they need the opportunity to discuss and reflect on these issues in a higher degree. Because when they go to a festival, they often feel this is a safe spot. I don't suppose that anything would happen to me, especially nothing related to sexuality that I don't want to be exposed for. But women are, on the contrary, they are very aware of this will happen, and they have strategies, and they know how to talk with their friends about that. So we can see it's a big difference. And if you need to create the difference, as we have heard in the first, in the last speech before you need to address young men, and this is not offenders then, of course, but you need to address them as a part of the new redefined masculinity. Then they can be a part of creating something new. Otherwise, it won't happen. So we need to find that kind of tone. And here you see our volunteers. It's about 15 volunteers. And they are about to talk about mutuality, sexual boundaries, and how you can be an active bystander if you see something about to go wrong. We also, of course, hand out condoms and fake tattoos free of charge. And it's a good conversation starter in both cases. So we ask people to take a stand by taking a selfie with a frame, posting on social media, and give them a flyer with the six steps, as I mentioned before. We try to make them active bystanders, even though they haven't seen anything. We try to make them think as themselves as possible preventers of violence in the near future and in the long term as well. As I mentioned, we have films, and we do films in different ways. The first one is about the six steps. We also do films at the festivals with young people where they can say something about what they think. And we also do films with artists who say something. And it's one last thing about the festival as an arena is that it's almost like a small theater. You have the scene, you have people that the crowd admire, you have an organization who will work a whole year before the festival to communicate with their crowd, so to speak. So you have a setting that's close to perfect, I would say, to make a good campaign, and also to involve people that you normally don't reach. So that kind of arena is very valuable for us in our work. So for me, I will show you one last slide. And I don't know if you know these people. Of course, they're very more famous in Sweden, maybe. But to the right, with my colleague, you can see the foreign minister of Sweden at one festival talking with us. And the other one is maybe our most famous feminist, the leader for the feminist party in Sweden. So this has also been a way to address this in a big political in a big political stage as well, because you find these people at big festivals at least a year before election, which was the case in this year. So again, I think we need to find new ways to redefine masculinity, to reach young men in different societies and these different communities. And this is one way for us to reach out, to be able to see that it will happen. And we have results that says that actually physical assaults went down so much when we have this kind of campaign. It's a big difference. And I believe that we have a structure in our society, of course, like in many societies, that is unequal. But we have also an opportunity to make something about that structure in everyday life, and also in a special arena with a special time. You can give somebody a new thought, and they can tip from having one way of acting to another way of acting. The structure is not that firm all the time. And in this case, we can address another issue that actually happened. You can see this festival you see here. They, for instance, they took away all meat 1 year. They didn't serve meat in the restaurants. And several years later, the festivals, the crowd from the festival, you can see that 15 to 17% actually had changed their own eating habits. And they said it was because of this festival and how they act. And eating and sex is very close to each other. You don't easily change the habits of eating. You don't easily change the habit of how you act when it comes to sexual acting. But it's possible to do. Thank you.